library. Like I went back to, like, the school started like in 1963 or something. And I went back to 1963 and did all the maths. So I became really good at maths in high school. I was teaching, at some point I was just saying, okay, I've done everything in my class. Let me start teaching Form 1s and Form 2s how to do maths. And that's how I ended up doing maths. And I always say the biggest, you have to point out those places in your life that changed your life. And most of those places are failure. And my first major failure was in Form 4. So I'm this bright kid, and everybody, my principal, even Mrs. Coyle, really expected me to do very well. I took that for granted. So I used to think, math comes naturally to me. Chemistry, so anything with math was easy for me. So math, physics, chemistry were really easy for me. I hated English and Kiswahili. Oh my God, I still have migraine when I think about Kiswahili.
I love
and so I just didn't put efforts in like learning and reading doing my homework. And what happened? I of course did not do well in 4. I mean, you don't expect, no, if you don't put the effort, you will not just perform. I mean, there's grace and faith and stuff, but you just have to put the effort. And that was my lesson. So I got a C in Form 4. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. And then what made it worse is everybody around me was disappointed. And I mean, it was one of those moments in my life I remember with gratitude, because it taught me like a life lesson, a literal life lesson. So I got a C in my grade, and I got a D in English. So every time, like, I was trying to get somebody, I know, right? I mean, I
would not imagine that you can, succeed in anything, STEM related if you got a C.
Yeah, I know. But what grace happened to me is I got into the pre-university program at African Nazarene University.
Okay.
And that really was like a second chance for me. And I nailed it. I mean, ask anybody, if anybody in Nazarene is here, can just put in the comment section. I used to be that child who will go to the library, to class, go sleep. I honestly didn't have much of a social life. Then I met some friends. We did some community stuff, but I was like a total nerd. I was always in the library. Even the librarians used to know that desk that there is for her. Don't even touch. My books were marked. I had marks everywhere. So I was very committed to my education, all of campus. And that worked out for me. I mean, I graduated really well, top 5% of my class and stuff.
Oh, wow.
And it was good because it affirmed that it's not about a grade in Form 4 does not determine the rest of your life. Yeah, you always have a second chance, and you can do whatever you want with your life. Yeah, and it was computer science because when I did pre-university, we were given a chance to choose between what programs you want to take. And at Nazarene at that point, it was there were still elephants and giraffes roaming the campus, and us. So I mean, the kids at Nazarene, I do not understand that. But yes, there was not a road. We used to like get on trucks to get them into like the center. And at that point, when we were told, okay, choose a program, they had theology, they had commerce, and they had computer science. And had a really, really good computer science program. I mean, I love Jesus with everything I have. I was not going to do theology.
Practice.
I live in a pastor's house. I know like theology. And then commerce, like I really did not like commerce at all. Like I didn't like it at all, not for anything else. But then computer science for me just it called me, because when I looked at the curriculum and the course content, I'm thinking, this is maths. Oh yeah, we'll do the maths, also known as computer science. And then the turning point for me was my first programming language. I mean, a class, CS. I remember it very CSC 101 programming, and we were programming in Pascal. Oh my God! Hello world. That feeling is still very real to me right now. And doing that,
Pascal, for those who don't know, is a programming language from, let's say, dinosaur years.
Thank you, Kagonya. So for me, doing that. I know I'm old, but it is not always nice to remind us that we're old, but it's fine. I don't look, I'm 21, and that's my story, by the way.
Exactly.
So I after after this, I mean, when we did Hello World, and we did a calculator program that first week of programming. And I remember I was so excited. I was thinking, I can now manipulate this thing, because my head was very curious on how does a computer actually work. I kept asking myself, how does it work? Then I realized that you can write programs to get a computer to do whatever you want it to do. Excited, like awesome. And that for me was really an amazing experience, because it was taking my maths and my logical thinking down to like being able to solve like problems and manipulate. At that point, honestly, in first year, it was about manipulating the computer and making it to do what I wanted to do. But I got purpose. So I got involved in something we used to call Women of Faith in campus. And we'll do all these outreach things. In all of that, I got like an internship when I was going to third year, and when I was going to fourth year. No, when I was going to third year, actually. When I was going to third year, I got an internship with UNICEF, and as a volunteer in Mukuru kwa Jenga. And it was 3 months of like really pain, because I went and I was working with these girls who are my age. Remember, I'm like in my very early 20s, yeah, really early, like 22, yeah. And I'm not going to tell you when I graduated. You can go and Google it so you don't calculate my age.
It's a blessing. That's what I always say.
I met this girl who we were age mates, literally. She had 3 kids. She was dying of HIV. It really broke my heart, because I was saying there's no difference between me and her. Yeah. And I mean, if I was to go back in time to where I was born in Madare. Yeah. So Mlango Kubwa, that's when my parents were living. So I was thinking there's no difference between me and her. She was born in the same state I was. How can I help her have a better life? Because I acknowledge my privilege that I am in this, yes, through a scholarship, but in this private university, that I've gotten the privilege of an education. Yeah. How can, and really, it was my quarter life crisis. I always say, every person has to go through this quarter life crisis where you have to define your purpose. And everybody, it happens to people at different stages in their lives. Mine happened at that age. And I kept asking myself, I know I'm very good at maths. I know I'm very good at computer science, but how is this computer science going to help people? But anyway, I had already committed. I couldn't go and become like a nurse, or I do social science or anything, because I'd already started this degree.
Yes.
Yeah, but I decided to just go ahead with the degree. And I remember one of my mentors, like at that point, when they were reviewing like what I want to do after I graduate, they looked at my grades and asked me what happened at this time. And then I told them that. I said, yeah, that's what happened. It really affected even like because it was not about just doing maths, it was doing maths with a purpose, and I couldn't see the purpose of doing maths unless I became a teacher or something. And it changed how I thought about my life. I wanted to have a more purpose-driven life. I wanted to do things that actually matter, move the needle in Africa. And that lady, I mean, unfortunately, she did pass away, but she changed how I think about life, yeah, and how I perceive myself and my role in life. I just don't want to walk through the universe just perambulating and just having fun. I want to be able to affect people's lives. And I'm happy that happened at that, because when it came to going to graduate school, I was very clear what I wanted to do. I remember I was a finalist for the Rhodes scholarship, the Rhodes Memorial Scholarship. I think they renamed it these days. I think it's called Rhodes Mandela, but it used to be that just the Rhodes Scholarship. I was a finalist, like the top 10 of them. And the only reason I didn't get in was because I was not very clear on the program I wanted to go do at Rhodes, because there's nothing that matched what I wanted to do, the computer science and the development part of it. Luckily for me, when I was just like in my depression I'm talking about my failures, because it's important for people to know that you don't get
when you talk about success.
Yeah, when you talk about people, I have like enough failures. Like, yeah, I was depressed there. Like, Rhodes was my, like, I always wanted to go to Oxford. Like, I eventually wanted to go to Oxford. Like, I want to go to Oxford. And I told everybody, when it was either Yale or Oxford, it was one of those two. And I had opportunity, like I was like a whisker away from doing it. But because it didn't have the program I wanted, I was told I was not clear on that program I'm supposed to go and do in the university. So that opening was not there. But what that happened, I googled who is this Rhodes person who is giving this much money. I ended up with at University of Cape Town, and UCT had just literally started their ICT4D program.
Wow.
Like I just applied and I just said, this is where I want to go. That's the program I want to do. And by miracle, I got into UCT, and I landed on the best. I mean, you met Gary. Yeah, Gary.
Yes.
Gary was my PhD advisor and my master's advisor. He passed away a few years ago. And Gary like invested in me as a person. He invested in me to be the person I am, because he gave me so much energy and courage. And he told me, you know, the way Mrs. Coyle told me, you have potential to do much better. What Gary did to me was he told me, like, you can actually change the world using technology. You know, driving all this energy I have a lot of energy, guys, by the way. All this
that is not evidence. That is not evidence.
Yeah, so all this energy I have around technology, all these brains I have around technology towards changing the world. And I was very clear I wanted to do that. So, and I remember we had us having this conversation. At some point, even I think I used to overwhelm Gary a lot. And at some point, I think I was like, you know, we need to do this, Gary, and this and this. I said, Shikoh, you want to do a lot of things. I want you to first graduate, first of all, and then you'll change the world. For sure, you will change the world. Don't worry about it. And I met, yes. but you need to graduate first. And I remember meeting Susan at that point. Susan Dre is one of she's a shared mentor. And Susan told me, you know, you can structure your life such that you can change the world and also get a degree. So when I used to have a Facebook account, I think that used to be my tagline is you can, and I left Facebook 10 years ago and it was in graduate school. So I used to say you can change, because I wanted to remind myself you can change the world and get a good degree at the same time. And a lot of things happened during that process of just finding myself and how do I apply technology in a very real sense. I was very clear I don't want to do research for the sake of research. I wanted to do research that actually moved the needle in Africa. That is something I was clear after that incident with that lady in what is it called? In
slums, yeah.
Slum. I was very clear. This is my purpose. Is how do I apply myself in my life to change the world for people like her, and so with Gary helped me like understand how do you apply technology in that way, because sometimes you don't know how to do it. You have like great ideas, you have all these things, but you don't know how to literally apply it. So what I did is he helped me like channel all that energy and all, just be able to organize my mind and my knowledge in a way that is actually impactful. And for that, I am very grateful. I miss Gary a lot, because I would want him to see some of the things I've done in my life, because he actually did inspire this. My own biological father used to call Gary my father in South Africa. My father just needed something. He needed to know I'm taken care of in South Africa. So he used to call Gary was like my dad in South Africa. And it is during graduate school that I refined my thought process. I refined that this is how you apply technology in a very practical way. And, you know, when people talk about innovation and digital transformation now, I remember when we were doing ICT4D, it was applying tech in real life, in agriculture, in health, in education, because we got exposed to all these things. I realized that it was preparing me for the future, like doing this, saying, okay, this is computer science and this is development world. How do I take this computer science and apply it to the development world? And that mental process of how do I do it? Constantly thinking, how do I do this? Help me, like every time now somebody throws me a problem around technology, I'm like, give me a few minutes or give me a few days to think about it. And I go back to what methodology can I apply to this? What can I do this? And in graduate school, I actually did change the world. So I remember one of the things that we had discussed with Gary is when I started my master, I said, I really want to get a PhD out of this. I didn't know how I was going to get a PhD. I was broke. So I got like merit scholarship when I was getting in. So that's why it's important to get good grades when you're graduating, because I got a merit scholarship at UCT to pay for my first year in my master's. So I really worked hard for my master's. And when I was graduating with my master's, Gary just called me and said, you know what, I have this fellowship. You have to do it between Kenya and Germany. I know you hate being called. Everybody knows I hate being called.
The cold weather doesn't work for
Are you
you.
there?
Yes, yes, yes. We're here. We're here.
You're there, Kagonya?
Yes,
You're
I'm here.
sticking
I can hear you.
on my screen.
Hello?
Pardon? Okay. Okay. Baridi does not work for me. I know people love snow and stuff. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I
Okay.
think there might be a bit of
I mean, everybody loves snow and stuff. I don't like snow, like at all. No, I'm sorry, guys. I was born in Africa and in Kenya for specifically because of the 26 degrees. Anything less than that is too cold for me. And Gary told me, oh, I have this fellowship, you have to do it between Germany and Cape Town. I hope you will have to think about it and take it. And it was like a really great fellowship with the Hustle Partner Institute. It's HPI is a guy who actually the founder of ACP. And it exposed me to a lot of things. Yes, the founder of ACP is the owner of that fellowship. We got to meet him. He's a brilliant old guy, but I mean, you look at him and thinking, you know how SAP is big, and this guy actually founded it. It actually challenges you on what to do with your life. But during this, that fellowship gave me a key to do whatever I wanted to do. Because Jagari said, I will not tell you what to do for your research. You explore and tell me what's the one thing that you're passionate about. Before that, I had gotten like an internship with Microsoft Research. And during this internship with Microsoft Research and then an associate research associate, I started working with in the slums of Cape Town, just understanding how do people use mobile. And remember, this is like 2008, 2009. So it's not now.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Very early days.
So mobile internet was not what we think of it right now. It was like WAP. I saw somebody's website the other day saying WAP. I'm thinking, when's the last time we used this
Yeah,
technology?
Yeah.
So it was using WAP, and it was like using and trying to understand how do Africans and people who are semi-literate and illiterate use the internet. And through this exploration, I had discovered that people, when you teach them, I'll do like a small experiment. I'll go into a community and teach them how to do Google, open an email account for them, and how to Wikipedia, 3 things, and wait for them to see what they will do. I'll just go away. I just teach that and go away, because that's it. It's called immersion. You just teach them and go away, and then come back later. So I come back later after 3 weeks and ask them, okay, so what have you been doing with your new knowledge? And I tell you, all of them, not even one exemption, all of them were looking for jobs.
Interesting.
And all of them. And you see the process they're using to look for jobs. It's painful. And remember, those screens were this small, like 3.25.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was like 3.25 inch, and you had to type in all these things. And I said, okay, what do I do? I can solve this quite easily. So I followed like what now we call user journey. It has a fancy name these days. I followed what they were doing, and I drew out the process, and then I said, how can I make this easier? I coded a very simple web form. It was like simple web form to see if they can use it. They use it. It was like very simple. What is your first name? What is your second name? Where have you worked before? Yeah. And because there's some literate somebody will be asking this question, and they'll be typing in them, and the moment you say submit, that form will be sent to your email. And that was like, if I would say, that was my first mega product. It was a simple web form. What happened is I was doing research and doing refinement. Then I always say this is where leading teams happens. And then you realize I cannot do all of them by myself. I have to get help. And you have to be very self-aware on what you're good at. I loved talking. For me, Aki, see, I've told you I have energy. I love talking to people, and I love this visioning of like, I'm able to take what you're telling me and translate it into a product. I am good. I realize that's what I'm good at. What I was struggling with is sitting and coding every night and waking up and doing it and doing my research and design in the morning. So I hired an engineer.
You're doing a PhD at this point in time.
Yes. So I hired an engineer, and we built this like Umeli. If you Google Umeli, UMMELI, it means bridge in Xhosa. or in many Bantu languages. It's not just Xhosa, it's used by many Bantu languages. And when we built Umeli, our goal was to reach 30 people, 30 people.
Only 30 people.
Let me tell you, we refined it until we had like a solid version. When we had that solid version, we that was our goal by then. I was trying to graduate, remember? Graduate, PhD. That was enough for me to graduate because I'll have done my assumptions, my hypothesis done. So let me tell you, we launched it. We launched it. We launched it, and the following morning, my engineer calls me and say, "Hey, Ebu, just check those logs." I checked the logs. I think we had 100 people in one day, and then 1,000. At some point, then we hit like 10,000, like some media people started coming to ask me. I said, I don't like to talk to media, especially at that point. So I went to Gary and said, "Hey, Gary, we have a small problem. We are trying to graduate, but I don't know how to take this forward." And said, "Just allow it to be." We were growing like so exponentially. So we got invited to conferences to talk about our methodology and what we are trying to do. My methodology was, I'm trying to graduate. I'm trying to, that is number one. PhDs, when you've been doing this for a long time, you're thinking, I just want to get out.
Trust me, it's tiring. It's like unfinished.
The second thing is I'm trying to build a methodology that any other person who comes after me is able to build like a proper product for an African semi-literate population. That was my PhD. What was my PhD was about. And so you're building this methodology. Then I realized, the guy told me to stop tensing or stressing about it. What you have right now is a great, and then is a great product. And the good thing is I had Jonathan. Jonathan is still, like, even right now we're working on a project together, was my other advisor and was my boss at Microsoft. And he tells me, what we can do? We can twist your PhD and make sure that we measure impact. So allow people, don't stress about people growing. So we hit 100,000 in 3 months.
Wow.
And now it's no longer in Cape Town. It's like in Western Cape. It's in Johannesburg. You're thinking, okay, I can't actually be chasing these people around the country. So let's just allow to see what happens when you give information. So we started adding a lot of features. So initial feature was, let's create a CV. That was our initial project, the end. Then he started saying, let's scrap the internet to find jobs. Then when he started saying people are searching for jobs in Cape Town, I discovered there's another Cape Town in the world. He said, so it's Cape Town, South Africa. How do we clean up the data to be able to expose it in a way that I'm just exposing what is relevant to you? If you're in Western Cape or Eastern Cape, you're able to see jobs that are around you. And it was really fun, and seeing it grow. And then we did an impact study, and the impact study brought so many tears to me because I'd cry every day. Because we asked people, have you used Umeli, and what is your experience on Umeli? And we discovered, of the people who responded, more than 20% of them had gotten jobs. And it's not a job. Yes, and it's not just a job.
Remind everyone that this is in 2008. So that is, this is way now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not as pervasive now.
Yeah.
And feel free to ask your questions, audience. So just type in your questions as we proceed.
And for me, like saying, like 20% of the people getting jobs, and it's not just a job, it's somebody moving from getting 300 Rand to 3,000 Rand or 4,000 Rand. That's a huge income jump.
Yeah.
And for me, that really I found, and I always say, Umeli made me realize that you can actually change the world. If anybody ever tells you otherwise, I always remind them that you can. And I think I tell almost anybody who's in my team is that you have to have something that you a peg on the ground, that you actually change the world. You need to pick that one thing that you can convince people. And you really did that to me. So as I was just finishing Umeli, I get a call. And it was like, I always tell people this story, and they think it's a joke. I get this call. I'm sitting in the lab. So we used to have a lab. And I said, hi. So they say, hi, Shikoh. I said, hi. So we are calling from Google. We have been passed for your profile, and we'd like to have a conversation. I'm thinking, Google, yeah, right. I'm the queen as well. Like, I'm thinking, I'm not the kind of people Google calls for a job. Like, yeah, I mean, I can apply, but you don't call me Google. And remember, right now, we know a lot of people who work for Google. At that point, I
At
knew
that time,
one person, like one person who had
at
worked
least
for
with the
Google.
new one, you know.
And we all you used to look at him like, oh my God, you work for Google. Yeah. And I'm thinking, Google called me. Yeah. Google called me to work for them. How? And I'm thinking, I didn't understand it. So they called me like 3 times, by the way. The third time I went to Gary and I said, Gary, okay, I think Google has called me for a job and they're serious about me. What do I do? I'm just finishing my PhD. What should I do? And Gary told me, you know what? And this is one of those things I remember and I tell people a lot is that you can take the job, but you're not married to the job. You can always leave a job. Because I was like, you remember, I'm passionate about changing the world using technology. I thought I'll a career track through the NGO world, because NGO world, you can change the world, or you think you can change the world. I'm not going to shade on anybody at this point, so we'll skip that thought. um, so Google called me and I say, okay, cool. So then the next thing, I'm doing an interview with Google and it's really fast. And then they tell me, when do you want to start? So I was supposed to start like in April. I said, I have to finish my PhD. I have to, can we postpone this? And yes, and we postponed it to December. And I always say these are negotiation skills that people don't. Yes. So these are negotiation skills that people don't apply. You say, if somebody actually wants you to join the organization, you can actually negotiate for the best terms. Because I knew if I didn't finish my research and have a fast draft, I'll never graduate. So I needed to buy myself enough time to be able to do that. And I had, like, for us to graduate, the fellowship I was in, you had to have written 9 papers.
Wow, fair enough.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I was trying to finish all my. I did a little bit more, but these are paper I was trying to do for a conference that was in December, and so I bought myself time and I started at Google. Like, that's why I hate snow. Oh my God, it was the worst snow experience ever in December of 2010. And what happened for me at Google is amazing, because I remember having a discussion with Steve Rogers, who was the director of UX, and I was telling Steve, I have done this amazing thing with Umeli, and I'd want to be able to rebuild that experience again. And he told me, what Umeli has done, it has taught you that at that point Umeli had gotten to 1 million people, and
Oh
told me,
wow, that's really huge.
he told me, Umeli can get to 1 million people, but what Google will teach you is how to build for 1 billion people. When
That's
somebody tells you that, I'd never thought of it that way, to be honest. I had never, to be like honest, like I'm being just super serious, honest. I thought of being like impactful. And I mean, getting to 1 million users for Meli was like the best thing that could ever happen to me, like beyond my wildest dream kind of thing.
yeah.
But
And just even to cut you off there, and it's really interesting, that difference between 1,000, 100,000, 1 million, and 1 billion. And so
yes.
if I see my mom here, hi mom, and we're having this conversation actually over the weekend around how even real. You're saying at that time you couldn't believe, you couldn't think at 1 billion, but even now, not only in the tech industry but in other industries, it's very difficult for us to grasp that picture of success where we're not reaching people, we're thinking of the continent. Yeah. So that sort of success. So how did that impact you? How did you now move your mind from designing for, and 1 million is huge. I mean, I have to say, my goodness, if I have an app with 1 million people, I might retire. But but you see, how do you move your mind from wanting to retire with 1 million to now thinking about 1 billion? Well, how did Google help you do that?
So,
what process?
Steve and the UX team. So remember, so when I joined Google, I negotiated to work on Africa projects. So that's the other thing I negotiated on. Like I said, I will come and work for Google only if I'm able to work on Africa projects. So I tell Steve this, and Steve challenges me, is that Google will teach you how to build for not just because he built it very well. He asked me how many people are in Kenya. I said 40 million. How many people are in Africa? I said Google will teach you how to build for 1 billion people. And that really, like, it was like a very radical statement that, like, that, you know, that moment, you know, your brain shifted to like, I am small. That was the moment for me. So I was very, very keen on how do I get around building for 1 billion people. Like, I was very clear in my head that I'm at Google to learn how to build for 1 billion people. And for me, that my 1 billion people was Africa. And what happened next is Nelson was the VP for emerging markets, gave me an opportunity to do it. Nelson told me, okay, what problem do you want to solve for Africa? Because you're insisting on working on Africa. What problem do you want to solve for Africa? And I said, of course, youth unemployment. I said, okay, go do your research, come back to me with a vision on how to solve youth unemployment for Africa. So I did this research across Senegal, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa. I was like in a plane every 2 weeks trying to solve for unemployment in Africa. It's not been solved for, but I learned a lot. We designed this very simple product that, I mean, it borrowed a lot from what we had done in Umeli. Is when, if you're in anywhere in Africa and you're looking for a job, you're able to find the jobs that are closest to you. Like if you're in Kenya, Nairobi, and you're looking for a plumber job, it brings jobs in Nairobi for you. So it removes the mental process, or the mental, what's the word? I've forgotten the word. Yeah. For thinking, if I search for jobs in Nairobi, I'll get jobs in Nairobi somewhere. Somebody called Nairobi will come as a Google result, and that was powerful. At that point, we didn't implement it at that point, but the fact that the organization heard me and listened to me was another affirmation that no matter how, you know, when you're at Google, you're thinking everybody at that point, nowadays Google hires everybody. You don't need a degree and stuff. At that point, they were just hiring Stanford and you've never been out of the continent apart from going to Berlin. So you're here working with all these Stanford type guys, and you're feeling very, I mean, you doubt yourself a lot. I remember I was in a room, we were talking about Africa. I'm African sitting there, and I couldn't speak a lot. And this lady, Fiona Lee, hi, I hope you can see this. Fiona just lifted her hand and said, she's from Africa. She might have an understanding better than all of us who've never been to Africa. And people speaking out for you, showing you and affirming you that you have something to bring on the table is really good. And that's what some of the things I learned from Google is that once people learn that you have something to bring on the table, they made sure you bring it on the table. And that's something I try and inculcate in all my teams, is that if you have something to bring on the table, imagine even if you don't want to speak, you're going to bring it on the table. I'll force it out of you, because everybody has something to bring out on the table. And it's those affirmations, working with a great team. What does a great team cohesion look like? What does allowing people to bring all of themselves to work look like? You know, I worked with every single gender. You know, there are many genders these days. I worked with every single race. I worked with all sorts of people, and it really opened up my mind. It was like a great point of exposure. But I got to that point where I was thinking, I remember at some point when Google strategy changed and we had to go to emerging markets. I was covering India. So most of the time was in India and Indonesia. I was getting tired, and I was thinking, I'm not doing what I really love, working for Africa problems. And I was getting really, really tired. I got great opportunities. Like when IBM was coming to Kenya, I got really a great opportunity there, but I couldn't take it because I was thinking, I want to do something more impactful. And I will skip that part because I said I'm not to put shade on anybody, and I'll skip to my favorite part of it.
Before we even skip that, we have a very good question from Koi. So you mentioned the days of your PhD. So what aspects of the tech design flow have evolved since the days of your PhD? Have things really changed a lot? And what can the Kenyan tech design teams do better today? Because I guess from that time when you designed for Meli, and now if we fast forward to where you are now, what has changed?
So I forgot to remove, I still have my first prototype for Meli, which was a piece of paper drawn with it was a full sculpt drone. I still have it, like it's behind me in one of my files. I keep it because it reminds me that you can do something great from paper. Nowadays, you have these things, mockup, Figma, all these things. Sketch. You can mock up something quickly and go and show it to the users. So there, it was either I do it on piece of paper. It was fast, low low fidelity prototype, draw with a piece of paper and pen, show it to your user. Second one, PowerPoint was the next one. Draw, those screens nowadays, you guys have nice ones, like you can get a whole screen and put all the elements. Had to draw the screen, by the way. Draw the screen, put all the elements there, go and show your user. And then do you know how we used to do like the Figma thing? Yeah, we used to cut out the piece of paper, and then you do like, you pull the different elements. So like page 1 is this, so you remove, then you take it back. Like it. I remember some of those experiences, and I think, oh my God, these guys have no idea what they have. Like, just designing like a proper user-centered process was fun, but the preparation for it took 5 days, because you had to draw all these different elements and different pages, draw every, and then cut them out so that the user is not confused. And I mean, that will not guarantee that the user not getting confused. So things have moved a lot. Methodology has changed a lot. We didn't have we used to make up some, even now people still make methodology as they go, but now everything is well documented. You can go to Nielsen, you can go to IDEO, you can go to all these websites and find the Stanford one, I've forgotten the name, the D-School page. There are many people who are putting out resources on how to run like proper UX studies, usability studies, and they're giving you tools that you can easily use. All these things we didn't have at all.
So it's more like the have changed, but has the process changed?
No, the process. If you change the process, you lose the user-centeredness part of it. I always say that, because the goal is to understand the user. You can do it rapidly, you can do it faster, you can have fancier tools, but when you put the user in the center of it, like, you have to speak to a user. Yeah, you have to understand them. We have better tools to record their face, their eye movement, all these things we have now. But it still goes back to, I want to understand what is the mind of my user. So those things have changed a lot. Like the principle behind it has not changed. The tools have changed, but the principle behind it, I believe, at least in my teams, and you are in my team, I wouldn't want that to change, because then you lose the actual idea of you being human-centered and user-centered.
That's true. So tell us about color. And I guess you mentioned we're in the same team. So yeah, Shikoh and I were in the same team when we were at Safaricom Alpha. And so the journey, and I know there's, the thing, trying to shrivel your experience into 5 minutes is quite difficult. There's also AFDB, so where you led teams then again Google Kenya, then now moving on. So how the leadership role, and then now where you are, how did you get to Color? Or maybe start from Color going backwards. Tell us about Color, and who is Color, and how is it leading this company?
So Color, which is supposed to be Color, is
I'm like, this must be a South African word. This one cannot pronounce.
No, we have to call it Color, by the way, because we know no one will click on our behalf. The word means to spark, to begin, to ignite, and that's what we believe we are in terms of technology. So we are a digital innovation lab, and we support organizations in their digital journey and innovation, in setting up innovation functions, And this came from the fact that 3 of us in the team, the leadership of the team, have had previous experience. This will be my 4th time doing like digital innovation lab, and I think Kaguni is still there.
Yes,
it is my 3rd.
There's a bit of
my 4th time. I was at. Pardon?
The internet connection keeps failing. I think on your end, so there's a bit of getting a bit messy, but we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. So so when I left Google, I wanted to do something around innovation, changing the world. So I joined the first social innovation team at Shikoh, and there the goal was to how to apply new technologies to move the needle in the development sector, and that helped us. And I know it was amazing in just trying to structure what that looks like. But I felt like the NGO world was not for me, like at all. Like I didn't yeah, we just did not mash very well. But I'm grateful because I got an opportunity at the AFDB. AFDB is more public sector, and the clients were countries. I got to work like with amazing people, people who we are still friends, and I got to like work with the governments. And there is where I saw innovation can actually move the needle in a very little way. I had an amazing boss. And what they gave me is the open, what is it called? Open to look at how can innovation and digital and this app layer, you know, when you talk about as network stack, there's the app layer. How can that be used like in digital government, in digital service delivery? And I worked with that. I worked with like great partners to build the very first of its kind digital blueprint for Africa, and selling it across to different countries was amazing. But what we did there was disrupt. I mean, like, I love it. I hope Gloria is watching this, and the other team is. What we did is we set up the very first innovation challenge. So remember, when I joined the bank, the idea of innovation was like, what are you working for? I'm in the ICT team. I'm doing this innovation thing. And they're like, oh, you can check on my Outlook. Like, that was ICT. So we needed to change people's mentality on what ICT can actually do. Don't laugh. I mean, like, honestly, I love the bank. Like, they know I love
innovation usually.
No, it was. So we brought the outside inside. So we ran an innovation challenge with outsiders. We brought these young kids from across West Africa into the bank at AFDB, and we got them to work with bank staff to build solutions around agriculture, around education, around e-governance, around different areas that we were looking at as the bank. And the bank looks at almost everything, but we chose five areas. What that did is it cataloged this idea of like innovation can actually be applied in every sector of our lives, in agriculture, in every area. And that for me is, I saw change in front of my eyes. I saw people moving from, you're the Microsoft Outlook guy, to how do I start organizing my program to inculcate or to what is it called? To integrate more of ICT and innovation in how I deliver this. This program is going to be delivered by the countries. And you know what happens if you change a program manager? And at the bank, when you talk about program manager, somebody who's running like a multi-million-dollar project, when you take task manager's mind around ICT, you've changed a country's or several countries or a regional block's mind. So we did something that was launched last year called 50 Million Women Speak. It's a Pan-African marketplace for women to connect. I remember when we were conceptualizing this, everybody thought I was crazy. Like, that is mad. Like, we don't do things like that. I heard that so many times. Like, that one is not done. We have never done that. It will not be approved by the board. Like, because we had to go through like an approval process. It will not be approved by the board. That one, no. And so you get smart, you start building prototypes. This is where you go back to like building prototypes to show people, because you remember it's a foreign concept. You have to build something that people can actually interact with. And those aha moments were like, oh, this is what you're talking about. We got the board approval and money was released to build this product. And it's Pan-African. I mean, for me, those are the things that help me, like, say, going that you can change the world. In the middle of all of this, I get a call from Kamal. Kamal say, oh, we are setting up an innovation center at Safaricom. I know you're doing this bank gig. And the bank is awesome, but it takes time to get things done. And me, as I've mentioned many times, I'm an energy person. Like, I drive. I have too much energy, to be honest. And I like it. So Kamal called me, oh, we have this thing that we are doing at Safaricom. Because of, like, I had this exposure in private sector, in the NGO world, and in public sector. I thought I'll be able to bring this experience to setting up an innovation center. So he told me, I need you to come and help me set this thing up, because I think you have the exposure to doing it. And I mean, I remember Alpha with amazement, because we got to do a lot of interesting stuff. Some of them
We
I
did.
won't say because Safaricom will come after me. But we did amazing. But the most amazing thing for me was building an awesome team. For me, as much as I can't speak of the products, I can speak of the teams. We had an amazing, just being a team that syncs together, works together and has this vision that we are Africans, we can change the world, we can build world-class products. Was amazing. And every time I came to work was like this energy. Like I thought I used to have energy, but everybody there had energy. There was like mountains and mountains of energy of young people who were committed. And sometimes we'll work until 9, 10, 11 p.m. and nobody will
Right.
notice that it's 10 p.m. because they are committed to being able to deliver. Yes, I mean, it didn't work out. I can't talk much about that. It didn't work out. But that being able to build this world-class team that was able to deliver some really awesome things that I hope one day we'll see a life of day was a big affirmation for me. But even now when I speak, sorry?
How did you build that team? Like maybe if there are 3 tips you could give on how did you build this amazing team in in a large company? Safaricom is one of the largest. So how do you build this great team in a large company, which may or may not have the same complexities of where you had been, like at AFDB, where there's excitement to do, but there's that sluggishness in process. How did you get people together and then have them passionate? Were you training them to be passionate, or what happened? How did you get that magic sauce?
So Anne put a very important post the other day, and she put a post saying that culture is the leader's shadow. And wow. I was reflecting. Yeah, I know, it's quite deep. That is so deep. Like I had to send like that on LinkedIn. I'm thinking, oh my god, wow, and it is a reflection of who you are. So when I joined, when we had like a number of conversations with Kamal, because I was not very sure about joining Safaricom. I mean, the bank was quite a comfortable employer, to be honest. Yeah, but and so I was thinking, so should I not? And we had this conversation, and I had a conversation with Kamal, and I had a conversation with Bob, and they told me this is an opportunity to be able to, and I told them what these dreams of being able to build world-class products from Africa. And I mean, they were like, you know what, this is your opportunity to do it. And because I had that thing in me, it's like, I want to, and I remember even when I was convincing you to move from Australia, is we are building a world-class team. And because that was in my mind was, and I say you attract what you say and what you believe. And this might find free and all that stuff, but I had that in mind. So when I was setting up the team, I remember sitting down with the HR person and saying, let's look at the team structure. And I'm thinking, okay, blank. I say this is not a product team. This cannot be a product team because it lacks some of the core skill set to build. So I remember when I said we need to hire UX people, and she was like, what? Yeah, I said, yeah, we need to hire UX people. And said, oh, you mean like we can get some people from the marketing team? I said, no. So just trying to train the organization on what UX is before they give you like leeway to hire a UX person, the first UX person who happens to be you. Yeah. And convincing the organization that, you know what, we can be able to, these are the skill set for the future. This is what you need to put in place to be able to build this future that you want. So convincing them we need UXers, convincing them that you need internal engineers, that you need an engineering team that you have power over, and you can build great products. And that one was hard because there was this laxity about, are we going to get great engineers? And I said, we can get them. And that does not mean me hiring from other places. We went and found kids at campuses. I remember I had a credit card, and I'll go onto Upwork and just look for people, because I was looking for people in Kenya who had a very, very, very specific skill set. And when I wanted women, I went on LinkedIn. And when people came to Alpha, they would say, oh, you are 50-50 women. You have many women. I said, yeah, because I went to LinkedIn and found women and told them you have to apply. Very deliberate. I said, you have to find them and tell them to apply for this job. And people were like, Kagonya, I just called them, like I became a stalker. Kagonya, do you want to come back home? Kagonya, do you want to come back home? Until she finally came back home. Because you have to be able to.
Yeah. I'm telling you, stop
Yes,
me
it
for
was
3
3
months.
months of talking, by the way. 3 months of talking. Yeah. And for me, it is being very clear on what kind of team you want to build. And once you're very clear on that, the kind of team you want to build, taking it further and saying, because this is the kind of team I want to build, I want to start hiring people. And also you lead a team, but you manage individuals. And that's the biggest thing that people mess up. So when I'm hiring somebody, I'm saying I'm hiring somebody who can work in a team, but I'm hiring them because of something specific they bring into the team. Yeah. And I manage that something specific. Yeah. I'm very clear, like I know what Kagonya will bring. Kagonya, if you want anything done, she will bulldoze herself into doing it. Even if it's midnight, she will do it. Yeah. But and some other people are much softer. Some other people are much quieter. And you have to be able to be very clear that's the kind of team. So I was very clear on the skill set I needed in the team. And number two, I was very clear on the team I wanted to build. Yeah, I wanted to have an open team that was open to anything. Like any idea was a welcomed idea. There was nobody who was dumb in the team. And the moment you tell people you're not dumb, in the same way somebody at Google told me, Shikoh, you have something to bring to the team. I gave that power to the team to make sure that, you know what, you can bring you bring your whole self to work. There are so many hilarious things. We didn't have a dress code at Alpha because we just allowed people to come to work. Dreadlocks, slippers, pajamas. Yeah, and for me that yes, mohawks. I mean, what many mohawks actually, but that allowed people to bring their whole self to work, and that freedom of people to be made their brilliance come out, because somebody did not have to bother about I'm being judged because of XYZ. I'm just being judged because of the quality of my work, and people will bring their A game to work. And that for me is what we are building at Colors as well in terms of our team culture is you bring your whole self to work. Yeah. Just wear something, please. Honestly, just cover up. But I won't I won't judge you on that, but you bring your A game in terms of the quality of your work. And everybody who's worked with me always say excellence. You have to deliver excellence, and excellence is not perfection. That there are two different things. Excellence is never perfection. Yeah. Excellence is being able to do, I have done my very best on this. I'm delivering the best value I can to this customer. It might not look the best. It might not have everything that I want it to have. It's not perfect, but it's excellent. Yeah. And the moment you are that person, and you're modeling it out, you're not forcing it down people's throats, you're modeling it out. Yeah. When you model it out to your team, people are very, I mean, as human beings, we are very good. We are very good at what is that word? Not speaking. We are very good at copying. It's not copying exactly. Whatever is modeled, we pick it subconsciously and start living it. I mean, you've never hung out with somebody, they say at a certain word, eventually 3 weeks later you start saying the exact word, or they do like this all the time, and you start doing this all the time. And it's not like you wanted to do it, it's because you just picked that habit from them. So you have to model these things. You can't be preaching water and drinking wine. It's because people will, I mean, fakeness. I always say that authenticity has to come from you. You can't be saying, do this, and you're not doing it yourself. Yeah. And so that's, I mean, for me, Alpha, I remember it with gladness, because it proved that Africa has great talent. And building upon, yes, Africa has great talent. And building on that, like everybody who was at Alpha got taken by the ecosystem. Everybody, I mean, we call it the Afia Mafia. Everywhere, like bars, everywhere. People are everywhere, and I'm very proud of everyone. And because I talk to them, they call me for advice. Even the youngest, there's Dancela, who's like a very junior data analyst. She's flying at a bank as a data scientist. I'm very proud of her. Yeah. So I mean, when they call me and say, Shikoh, I'm doing this, thank you for giving me that opportunity to be myself, is very awesome for me. And so, I mean, we moved on from Alpha, and right now with Color, what we are doing is trying to build a culture that is of excellence and of integrity, and we want to be able to influence how people believe technology can be applied in the organization. Because when you talk about innovation, when you talk about data transformation, digital transformation and data, it's like this thing. Yeah, we have to demystify what it is to everyone, and that's what we are trying to do at Kala. We are trying to do that. We are building awesome products. You'll be seeing them in the next couple of weeks. We are supporting the government, and that for me, the past few months have been awesome. We are supporting government through the Ministry of ICT and also Ministry of Health, using data. Like when you see, and every time we have these meetings with the team, and when you see, oh, our data is being used to make policy, you realize that you have moved the needle. When you ask about moving the needle, that you spend the whole night crunching data to inform a certain decision, and that decision is made. It's very rewarding, and the team is very excited about that. And for me, that good. Just go ahead.
There's a bit of a delay, but that even answers Emma's question on how important is design in ICT. And I think you've just said that. So this team, and maybe you could even expand on that a bit more, in that how important is design in ICT. And then I know you've already answered Abigail's question on how do you marry design with leadership, or maybe you could expand a bit more. And then definitely tell us how to build great teams. So just maybe the last two questions of how do you marry user-centered design with leadership? How important is design in ICT? And maybe just end it with what are the challenges maybe in leading this great African tech team or development team?
How do you marry UX in leadership? Leadership is about people. It starts and ends with people. It's not about authority or power or influence or whatever you've read. It's about people. If you are able to, no, and I'm very serious, because people think, oh, I've now been made a manager. Oh my God, now I can drive to a better car. I have a nice corner office. I can get flowers and tea. I have a secretary to do all these things. That's nonsense. Yeah, leadership is about people, and user experience is about people. Yeah, leadership is about when you put people at the core of the decisions you're making. Will this decision I'm making going to affect somebody's life beyond their work? And I hate the fact that people, when you have somebody working for you, you think that Kagonya is coming. Kagonya hates my UX. I don't care about what happens to Kagonya when she gets to that door. Let me tell you, when she gets to that door and out of that door, what happens to her will affect her productivity. So I'm the kind of person who will ask you, how are you? How are the folks? How are you feeling? If you call me and say there's something happening at home, I can't come to work, I say I'll give you time off. Then I'll ask you, okay, do you want to talk about it? And yes, the first time it will be weird. The second time, the third time, you'll talk to me about it, and then we'll get a conversation happening. That's why some people, even from Alpha, still call me until this day when they're stuck at work, because they just want somebody to listen to them. Yeah, and for me, that is leadership. It's not about, oh, have you met our KPI? Yeah, because those KPIs are affected by people's lives outside work, and if you're not conscious about that, you're going to be a failed leader. No matter what power you have, no matter what how many secretaries you have, all those things, no matter what, you have failed as a leader, because you don't have a strong group of people who believe that you actually have influenced their lives in a positive way. That for me is about leadership. What was the other question?
So the other question was the role of design in ICT, which how important is it?
ICT does not exist without design. I mean, everything you do, even the backend. So the one thing, I don't know if you understand about service design. There's a newish. It's a bit old, but there's a newish. Yeah, service design. It's service design is the design that you don't see. Yeah, it's the design of the backend, how things interact with each other, how people interact with your system. That is very important. And that service design can be designing your network, not necessarily designing your software. Yeah. So if we don't put design is deliberate way of applying technology more than any other thing. Design is like, when you ask me about ICT and design, is like, can you build a house without an architect? Yeah. So that's what designers are. Yeah, it's the same way. It's like, if you can build a house without an architect, I mean, some people in Ushago actually do it, but even they have a plan in their head. They already designed that I want bedroom to be here, a long corridor, kitchen there. They have all those things in place. So that's what design is to tech. You have to be very deliberate on what your tech is going to be doing, who is going to be their user, what do you intend for it to accomplish. All those things is part of design. So it's very, very important.
And yeah, thank you for that. I mean,
and the last one was challenges.
So
I feel like, I mean, leadership to setting up. So for me, the challenges are about, again, it goes back to leadership is about people. So most of your challenges you get from people as well. Yeah. Perception, how people think about you, people's fears. And I always say the biggest challenge in leadership is about fear. And fear is such a cancerous emotion that it affects people perception of you and your perception of yourself. So the moment people start fearing you, their productivity goes down. The people, if somebody in another point of leadership fears you, they start sabotaging you. So I always say that the biggest challenge for me is that you have to overcome fear for yourself, and you have to be self-aware first. Is what am I good at, first of all, and what am I not good at? That's second. What am I not good at and I can improve? Can I improve? Do I have time? Yes. No? Okay, I'm not good at it. Let's forget about it. So I always don't force myself into doing things. And because if you start trying to be everything to everyone, it's because it's an outcome of fear. So I always say, don't allow other people's fear to be projected on you, and don't project your fears to other people. That would be my parting shot. And leadership is about people. Building teams is about people. It's about talent is people. Talent is not like caps that you are bringing into the organization. It's human beings with emotions, and you have to always be conscious of that. Thank you so much for this. That was awesome. I enjoyed it a lot.
This was really powerful. Shikoh, you have been, the gems you've dropped here are astounding. I mean, I even see people here just even, repeating your quotes. You lead a team, but you manage the individual. And it's really, really, really awesome. Thank you, everyone who's joined us live. Thank you for the ones who watch this later. At the beginning, there was a bit of a delay. We started a bit late. I mean, I pressed the wrong button, and so we started talking even before we went live. But it was fixed. I mean, you could get the story after it. But this again has been a very engaging session on Designers Craft. We talk all things tech, and today Shikoh has really been very personal with her journey on how she got into tech in the first place, how she got through different roles. And I love that she even, Shikoh, you spoke about these life lessons that you got from different people who came into your life. And it's so funny, it comes in full circle from Umeli, and then now, working for, even when you a short stint at, the NGO world, thinking now in the billions, thanks to Google and AFDB. Then now starting, you said, this is your fourth time growing a team. And, in the third time with Safaricom and everything around it. And now with Color, where we're really looking forward to the excellent African products.
No pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the Color will be a great Kala. I'll try and pronounce it well. Kala.
No, call it Kala. We don't do the clicking.
Yes, to Kala. But thank you, everyone. This has been really, really fun. And see you next month for another episode on Designers Craft. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. It's still not